Well, thank you, Rick. It was kind of fun being in Hawaii last month. Got to ride on the zip lines, right? Got to go to the luau. Got to snorkel with the fish. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. Anyway, tonight we're going to start off in our normal way. Welcome to the September edition. We'll have the flag salute, and we're going to have some announcements. Now, tonight, because certain things happened right at the last minute, announcements will be a little bit longer than normal, but for you, Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Sutton, I will not shorten your time. So if I go over a little bit, don't worry about it. You still have the 30 minutes that I promised you. Then we're going to talk about, Bill Reynolds is going to talk about the War Memorial that he's been working on for the past 2 years, and maybe tell us a couple of stories about some of the veterans that have been here or that are here in Santa Clarita. Then Doug Sutton, very famous owner of the Gazette, SCV Free Press, is going to talk about how his vision for the Gazette and what it's going to do in the future, what we're doing today, and what's going to happen then. Then I'm going to talk about the Lyons Avenue Dockweiler EIR. And here is the situation where this may turn around into be Lorraine West's pot of gold. And she's been pushing this for a long time. And this EIR has been hiding in plain sight for a very long time. I'll tell you where it's been hiding. I'll tell you what it's about, and I'll tell you where you can get your own comments in. Then there was the situation of those ugly solar panels in Canyon View Estates. And you might know that some things were said about it at the city council meeting. I went back and verified it. I was back at the council meeting. So I'm going to let you know what that line is also, and what the actual process is supposed to be to get things done in mobile home parks. And let's hope the city will help make us ensure that that happens. And lastly, at the last city council meeting, there was a presentation by the staff, and it had to do with crime statistics going up, and the fact that they are not crime fighters, but they're crime monitors. You know, so they wanted to tell us that the crime is increasing, and there's an initiative that the League of California Cities is going through to let you know that crime is a problem. So we'll talk about that and what they've done about it. Then our version of public participation, which is the first 5 people for a minute that want to address the group. Then next meeting previews, and I think you're going to find that interesting. And then we'll adjourn promptly at 9 o'clock. So, you know, September 11th has just occurred, and I just realized that I did bring my flag, but I normally carry it with me. It's the one that flies over my house all year. And I was looking this month for some local heroes. And, of course, everybody knows that we've had these hurricanes, you know, that have devastated several regions of the United States, Texas and Florida. And 2 of the hurricanes, Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma and Harvey were those 2. And what brought that up was last night I was at the Salvation Army's advisory board. They'd asked me to join them a few months ago, and so I was there with them, and I was amazed to find out that the Salvation Army, between those 2 hurricanes, served something like 800,000 meals. And, you know, they served something like close to 900,000 drinks. And they provided a lot of stuff for disaster relief. And they explained one of the reasons why the Harvey numbers were so much higher was because they actually went down there beforehand. So here we have a group that's forming, and so what I did was I invited them to come back and tell us what the local Salvation Army is doing next month, because we can find out that there's a lot of normal people and there are heroes all around us that help make things happen. And so with that, Judy, would you lead us in the flag salute? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, for announcements, I mean, you have to appreciate the signal, and we do. Chuck Champion's back there. We do appreciate the signal. I get up in the morning and I go out in my atrium. I want to read things, and after all this stuff, I mean, about having this water consolidation was going to do all these wonderful things for us. Now that it's done, what happens? You get up in the morning, you open the paper, and you find out we're going to raise your rates in the Santa Clarita Water Company. And there was an article in the Signal by Jim Holt. And but they indicated that they were going to have a public hearing, and we'll see exactly what happened. But this recommendation for and these are pieces out of that article. This recommendation to raise the rates come on the heels of the rate hikes that were proposed by the Valencia Water Company, which could be offset because of a drastic drop in revenue blamed on the conservation efforts. Now, I got to tell you, if there's anything that pisses me off, is to have a group of people that turn around, beg for you to conserve water. We'll turn around and we'll give you incentives to conserve water. We'll advertise to conserve water, and then when you conserve water, they'll say, oh, well, now we're going to raise the rates because you did it. This is totally absurd, okay? So it turns out that they do a cost of service study, and they do it every 3 to 4 years. Every 3 to 4 years, are you kidding me? I don't know about you guys, but when I was a department manager, I looked at what my finances were every 3 months. What is this every 3 years, right? So all of a sudden, guess what? They've been coming out and telling us all this stuff, and surprise, they got to raise the rates. So while they work, this is their words, hard to save costs and increase efficiencies, we're nonetheless subject to increases in the same costs such as power, chemicals, increasing water costs, advertising for you to save and conserve water, giving out, but that's okay. So the water officials want to recover the revenue lost, and they're blaming it on increased conservation. Well, I don't think they deserve to recover the revenue. Maybe they deserve to recover the costs that they incurred, but not their total revenue. So they're going to get together, and they got together last Tuesday, and to determine when they were going to have a public hearing on the proposed rates. I don't know what happened. I don't know when that meeting is, but you can bet that I'm going to be there, because what they said. This is a quote out of the paper. For those of you that are not happy with the proposed rate increases, you can blame the drought, but I blame them. So I just want to remind you, strike one was when they came to us and said, you know what, it's going to be a great deal to consolidate because the economy of scale will save money. But then when they came here and actually stood in front of you, they said, well, we're not really going to lower your rates. We're going to stabilize your rates, right? And then strike two is they finally realized, well, that's not working. People aren't believing that. So what should we do from that point? They said, oh, we're going to spend $200 million to pipe recycled water around the city, but there is no recycled water to pipe because the courts have stopped the sanitation district from putting any of that water out for recycling. So I guess they're going to be empty pipes that they're putting in line. And now strike three comes with, well, we're all done, so we'll just raise your rates. So I suggest all of you attend the public hearing. Tell them we don't blame the drought, we blame you. And I'm going to do that with no uncertain terms. The other thing that came up, I don't know if you watched if you've been watching the city council meetings, but they came up with an idea about what to do with parking in Newhall. You know, all of a sudden they realized Newhall has a parking problem. I know that surprises you, right? And you know what? They spent $15 million putting in a parking structure. And now they're realizing that they haven't changed the ordinance which allows anybody to put in an enterprise on Main Street without supplying parking. So they might have to put in another one. Well, where are they going to go get the money? So they decided what we're going to do is we're going to put out a survey to the folks to find out what they want in Newhall. Now, I got to tell you what. When it comes to putting out those kinds of surveys, these are what I call push surveys. They turn around and they really tell you what they want to hear. and they look for you to come back. So it says here, right, this is right off of the front page of the survey. Remember I had that page back there? Well, this is the middle of it. It said the city provides 470 public parking spaces along Main Street and on the side streets. Really? You're going to count all the side streets and the residential parking? That's very interesting. And it talks about the fact that they lease property on the corner of Main and 6th, which they use as a parking lot. And they want to brag about the fact that they spent $15.2 million, doesn't say it, of your general fund money on this parking structure. So now they want to know, how should we proceed from this point on? So here are the choices that they gave you in the survey. First, they could have paid parking, where visitors, business people, and employees in the public will pay anytime they're in a public parking stall. Does that include the residential areas, the all 470? You're going to put parking meters on all the residential streets in Newhall? I mean, if that's what this means, you got to, you know, they'll have an uprising that they'll never forget. Well, then you can have another choice. You can have a property-based parking assessment district. Then everybody can pay for parking. The reason why that failed last time is because this is mainly for the businesses on Main Street, but they included all the residential areas in it, and the residential folks vastly outnumbered the people on Main Street, and they said, no, we're not going to pay for it. Or how about, if that doesn't work, how about business-based parking where you pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee from all the businesses? Oh, that's wonderful. The last one I thought was the most comical, and that's a parking in lieu of fee. So this is what they went and they proposed after they went to the Autna folks and told them they weren't going to do it. They proposed that each business could provide $39,000 for every 1,500 square feet of increased development that they had. Now, I want to explain to you what that means. That means in order to build a parking structure on the other end of Main Street of 372 spaces, they would have to have 58,500 square feet of increased development on Main Street. What's the likelihood of that happening? Right? And if you waited until all of that was done, well, you know, the parking would be, you know, it would be just drastic. So I asked the question, are you planning to spend more money, more general fund money on this? And the answer was yes. So I don't think this should have been something that came out in Newhall. It should have came out to everybody in the city because it's your money that they're spending. And they're putting it in Newhall, and we'll hit on that more a little bit later. But then they said other. And in the other, I filled other in saying, why don't you just have paid parking in the parking structure that you put in? I mean, why did you give it to Lemley and Serrano for free and then expect everybody else to pay for it? So this is going to, they got the message. We talked to them quite a bit. We'll see what happens. I just want to, just for 1 second, remind everybody that the Sand Canyon Plaza, the EIR has been approved. I know a lot of people think that we have too many houses and in the area, and this is going to include, this is on the corner of Sand Canyon and Soledad, just down the street, and there will be 580 housing units, but there's also going to be 60,000 square feet of upscale dining with a little lake to eat at, and some retail. But I think the biggest thing of why I'm talking about this is because there's going to be an 85,000 square foot assisted living facility. That will be the first and only assisted living facility on this end of the valley. And if you think that the density of this is too high, you can go talk to the Planning Commission, because when this project was proposed, it wasn't going to be that dense. But they insisted that they increase the density because the general plan required them to do so because it generates more tax dollars. On Saturday is the River Rally in the morning. It's going to be right there in our favorite shopping center on Soledad. I hope that some of you come and join us from 8 o'clock till 11. Also, it's good it's going to be here because you're going to be right down the street from Route 66. And at noon, from noon to 4, there's going to be an alternate vehicle expo, meaning that they're going to bring in cars like cars that run on electricity. I don't think they're going to be steam cars, but cars that do other things than gasoline. I didn't even get a chuckle out of steam cars. If you go up to watch the parade in Paso Robles, you'd see steam cars as well. But that's going to be from noon to 4, so you can go to the River Alley from 8 to noon and then go to the alternate expo, and the whole day will be gone. On September the 30th, the powwow is going to be at Hart Park. It is free, but parking costs $5, and they will park you and drive you into the powwow because there's not enough parking in Newhall. And this will be your last opportunity here at the Canyon Country Advisory Committee to get another little rubber ducky for the Rubber Duck Regatta and help out Sam Dixon Family Health Centers provide health care for the uninsured and underinsured. And have your chance, if your duck comes in first, if your duck's been training real well, built up those muscles, and comes in first, is a $2,500 prize for you. And you do not have to be present to win. Second prize is $1,500, and third prize is $500. Last month we talked about streetlights on Sierra Highway. I don't know if you've noticed them, but you can go when you go home and it's dark, you'll see Sierra Highway is lit, and hopefully that'll prevent a bunch of the kind of accidents we've had with pedestrians hit crossing the street.